When you think of an ancient text, you probably picture a dusty old book, right? Well, the Rig Veda is different. It's not really a book to be read silently. Think of it more like a blueprint of the universe, one that's designed to be heard. Today, we're going to dive into how this ancient collection of hymns is really a guide to understanding reality itself, all through the science of sound and consciousness. So here's our game plan. First, we'll get a handle on what this ancient text actually is. Then we'll meet a key player, Agni, the cosmic messenger. After that, we're getting into the really cool stuff, the science of sound at the core of it all. Then we'll see how all this external ritual turned inward and became yoga. And finally, we'll look at how it all still echoes in our lives today. This quote right here, this is the key to everything. The Rig Veda isn't just a bunch of pretty poems. It's a form of spiritual technology. The ancient sages who perceived this believed that every single letter, every syllable had a specific power, a specific job to do. This one idea, that sound can literally shape our reality, is the key that unlocks this entire ancient world. Okay, so let's start with just how old we're talking. This isn't just some ancient artifact. The Rig Veda is one of the oldest religious texts on the planet that is still being used. I mean, thousands of years old, and its hymns are still chanted today. That's pretty amazing. The name itself, Rig Veda, literally means verses of knowledge. But here's the crucial part. It's considered Shruti, which means what is heard. The belief isn't that some person sat down and wrote it. No, the idea is that these verses were revealed, that ancient sages or rishis heard them directly from the divine while in a state of deep meditation. Let's just look at the numbers for a second. We're talking about over 1,000 hymns, all neatly organized into 10 books they call mandalas. And inside these verses, you find the seeds for practices that are still huge today. Things like yoga, meditation, and even traditional Indian medicine, Ayurveda. It's almost like the original source code for an entire spiritual operating system. To really understand the Veda, you've got to start where it starts. And the very first book, Mandala 1, doesn't kick off with some big creation story. Instead, it zeroes in with incredible intensity on one powerful deity, Agni. And when I say intense, I mean it. Get this. A staggering 131 hymns in that first book alone are all about Agni. That's not a casual mention. That's a massive opening statement about how important he is. So, who is this guy? So Agni is the god of fire, but he's so much more than that. Think of him as the ultimate intermediary, the divine messenger. He's the one who takes all the human prayers and offerings and carries them up to the world of the gods, using fire as his vehicle. He is literally the bridge between our world and the divine. And this is where we see his day job, in the yajna, or the fire ritual. This was the absolute central practice of Vedic worship. You make an offering into the fire, and Agni delivers it. It's that simple. Without Agni, there's no connection, no communication. The entire system just doesn't work. So if Agni is the messenger, what's the message actually made of? Well, for the Vedic sages, the answer was obvious: sound. And this wasn't just about saying a few nice words. For them, it was about using a fundamental technology of the cosmos. Okay, this is where it gets a little mind-bending. In Vedic cosmology, sound isn't just a byproduct of creation, it's the very first impulse. They believe that a subtle, primal essence of sound is what gives rise to space itself. And from that basic combination of sound and space, everything else, air, fire, the whole shebang, starts to manifest. The universe was literally sung into existence. And this is why mantras are so incredibly important. They aren't just prayers. They are, and I love this phrase, precisely calibrated sonic formulas. They are the language of creation itself, like sonic keys designed to resonate with the universe's fundamental frequencies. Now, if you have a technology that powerful, you can't just wing it, right? You need an instruction manual. That's what Shiksha is. It's an entire science dedicated to phonetics, to making sure the pronunciation, the accent, the rhythm of these mantras is absolutely perfect. And here's why that mattered so much. This wasn't about aesthetics or just sounding good. The core belief was that if you change the sound even a tiny bit, you change the result. The pronunciation had to be perfect to get the effect you wanted. The stakes were incredibly high. So what happens when you take this incredible, powerful, external ritual of fire and sound and you turn it all inward? Well, that's the profound shift that gives birth to the practice that we all know today as yoga. Look at this comparison. It's just so powerful. The external fire of the yagna becomes the internal fire of discipline in yoga. The physical offerings you'd put in the fire evolve into the offering and the control of your own senses. And the need for a go-between like Agni, that's replaced by the goal of a direct union with the divine. And that, right there, is the very definition of yoga. The word itself means union. The ultimate goal isn't just to talk to the gods anymore. It's to realize that your individual soul, the Atman, is actually one and the same with the universal divine soul, the Paramatman. It's a journey from seeing two things to seeing only one. And this isn't some vague, abstract idea. It's a very structured, step-by-step path. These are the 8 limbs of classical yoga. You see, it starts with the foundation of ethics, moves through the physical postures and breathing that we're all familiar with, and then it goes deeper and deeper into concentration, meditation, and finally, that ultimate state of union, samadhi. And here's where that sound technology makes its journey inward. The external chanting of mantras evolves into japa, the internal, silent, continuous repetition of a mantra. So the technology doesn't disappear, it just gets transformed into this incredibly powerful tool for focusing the mind and achieving that state of union. So as we bring all of this together, you can start to see this clear, beautiful line of thinking that is echoed down through thousands and thousands of years. This timeline really just sums it all up, doesn't it? We start with the external fire ritual, the yagna. That ritual is built on a whole philosophy of sound, the mantra, as a force of creation. This then gets internalized into the practices of yoga and japa, and you can draw a straight line from there to the roots of so many of our modern mindfulness and meditation techniques. At the end of the day, the journey mapped out in the Rig Veda is one of profound transformation. It's a path that leads you from looking for the divine somewhere out there to realizing it's actually inside of you. The core lesson is that our inner world isn't separate from the cosmos. It's a perfect reflection of it, connected by the exact same principles of energy and vibration. And that kind of leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? If the ancient sages saw sound as the literal building block of reality, it makes you wonder, what are the sounds we use every day? What are the mantras, the words, the thoughts, the self-talk that we repeat consciously or not to build our own reality? That's a powerful thought, echoing from thousands of years ago right into this very moment.